Welcome to episode 90 of Talking Dairy, the go-to podcast for New Zealand dairy farmers. Today we have a very special guest, Tracy Brown, the new Chair of DairyNZ. Tracy brings a wealth of experience and insight to this role. She is focused on giving back to rural communities through her roles, while looking forward to a positive future we can all be proud of. In today's episode, Tracy shares her unique journey in the dairy sector, her vision and her hopes for the future of New Zealand dairy. We'll talk about the recent changes at DairyNZ, what it means for the sector, and how it will support dairy farmers in navigating an increasingly complex landscape. Plus, we'll get to know a little bit more about Tracy herself, the person beyond the role. Tēnā koe, welcome Tracy. Thank you for joining us on Talking Dairy.
Kia ora, Jack. It's nice to be here.
Before we start, could you share a bit about your background and your journey in the dairy sector and what sparked your passion for dairy farming?
Well, I was actually a town kid, but I moved out into a rural community when I was about 11. And really that was instrumental in shaping my future career and my passion for the dairy sector, really. Yeah, I went off to Massey, got an ag science degree, started in the sector, in the sheep and beef sector as an economist. And then after that, sort of worked all around, really, as a training advisor in rural banking. Went farming, of course, with my husband and family, brought up 4 kids, and then got really involved in the environmental sort of side of things. Done a bit in policy, Chair of Māori agribusiness organisation in the far north. So I feel like I've done a whole range of things that, are really quite valuable and do contribute to the role that I've moved into now.
Yes, it sounds like a very diverse background. We're very lucky to have you. So, as the new Chair of DairyNZ, congratulations. What do you hope to bring to the role?
Well, one of the things, first of all, is really helping the organisation get much closer to farmers and really understand what the key issues are and really connecting with them, but also getting closer to our partners and working out how we can better leverage off organisation investments together. And we had a really good example recently. Our Chief Executive, Campbell Parker, was up in Auckland at the Fonterra Grass-Fed Sustainability Summit talking to global customers such as Nestle and giving an independent view as DairyNZ. So those sorts of things. I think in a lot of ways governance is about judgment, and from those roles that I've had and being all around the sector, I think that's one thing that I do really bring. I've had a lot of experiences in a range of different roles and with a lot of organisations, so I can sort of bring that sort of perspective and judgment piece. And then I've had over a decade of leadership in the environmental space, so that's a real challenge to some farmers, and really hope to support them to be able to continue to do good work and have profitable, sustainable businesses going forward.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm curious, what first got you into the environmental space?
So we were encouraged to enter the Balanced Farm Environment Awards back in about 2010, and it was probably the height of dirty dairying at that stage, and there was a lot of negative stuff in the media, and we just thought we'll get involved. It's sort of one way of just sharing what we've been doing on farm and role modelling. And it came out of a bit of frustration actually too, Jack. And, farmers were getting a bad rap. And I just literally woke up one morning and thought, gosh, there's got to be some stuff we can do to A, get some better stories out there in terms of the good work that is being done by farmers, and B, actually help sort of move farmers forward in the space that, weren't sure what to do or what the next steps might be.
Brilliant. You've talked about one challenge already. What are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities you see for New Zealand's dairy sector over the next decade?
The future does feel bright at the moment for dairy. We really are the champion of the economy, and, dairy plays a major factor in that, and I think we should be proud of that. We've got some exciting stuff coming up around emerging technologies. There's some good research going on around reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and I think, we've got a lot to look forward to. But in terms of challenges, the thing that comes top of mind is immediately around the weather challenges that parts of the country have had and farmers have been struggling with in Southland and recently on the West Coast. So, that's always tough and it puts pressure on people, but the world is changing as well, and we need to change with that. We won't be farming in 5 or 10 years' time the way that we farmed 20 years ago, and we need to adapt and change. And, and that's good. We'll find new and better ways of doing things. So it's just really keeping on top of that for farmers and, as an organisation for us to provide solutions and options.
Thank you. How do you envision DairyNZ supporting farmers as they navigate challenges such as environmental regulations, market shifts, and evolving customer expectations?
So we've spent the last probably close to 12 months actually having a big organisational reset. New chief executive into the role in Campbell. He's doing a great job. And it's really about setting us up to be successful in the future and thinking about what are the challenges that we need to meet going forward. We're really good at, as farmers about running our farms, but what do we need to be doing as an organisation to help farmers into the future? So a lot of focus around that. Research will always be our core business. As an organisation, we need to be working with politicians and policymakers and getting good, sensible, robust, enduring policy so farmers know where they're at and what they need to do going forward.
Talk to me a little bit about how the way we show up for farmers has changed over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I'm really pleased you asked me that, Jack, because this is really important and how we engage with farmers is really important. So since calving, we've had 30 new look events. So the way that we've run discussion groups in the past has changed slightly, and we're looking at getting more technical experts and more scientists in front of farmers. So we've had 30 events since calving. We've got another 30, I think, planned between now and Christmas. And the number of farmers that are turning up at those events has significantly increased. So on average, we were getting around 10, but the average is sort of 30 now, and many events have had more than that. So we're trying to be more topical, more timely, more relevant, and really put information out there that will help farmers solve the problems that they're facing right now on farm.
Yes, I certainly see that here in the office. A lot more of our subject matter experts, scientists getting out at events. It's always good to have more farmers at an event because they learn from each other as well. If you could instantly solve one challenge facing dairy farmers today, what would it be and why?
I think that would have to be around how do we lower our footprint while at the same time increasing our productivity and our profitability. It all comes down to how do we get more out of less, and how do we reduce our footprint so that going forward we have the mandate to be able to produce more and continue to run our businesses.
Quite a challenge. On a lighter note, what's one thing about you that most people might not know? Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of dairy that you're passionate about and willing to share?
Well, I'm into sailing, and I really like to switch off and be in tune with nature. So when we go sailing, I try not to turn my phone on. And I did a lot of sailing when I was at school, growing up. I grew up in Northland. But a couple of years ago, I thought, right, I'm actually going to get my skipper's ticket so that I can go charter a boat and we can take the family away, or I can take one away sailing. And so we've done that quite a lot. And I would like to do that more. Right now, I'm just too busy. But, one day, hopefully, we'll get more time on the water. Closer to home, I do enjoy my garden. And I think probably for the same reasons that I enjoy the sailing, it's all about mindfulness, getting back closer to nature and what sometimes can be a very chaotic and busy role.
Thanks, Tracy. Two quite different activities you talked about there. Before we wrap up, Tracy, we have a bonus round of quick fire questions for you. Snappy answers only, please. Are you ready?
Yeah, go.
Okay, coffee or tea?
Morning coffee, afternoon tea.
Tricky. Favourite place in New Zealand?
Bay of Islands.
Of course. Best part about dairy farming?
The people.
Biggest challenge facing dairy farmers? Well,
getting good people.
Aye. Something you can't live without on a farm?
Well, probably 10 years ago that would have been red bands. Now it's a phone because our phone drives everything.
Totally agree. Most exciting science and research project currently, in your opinion?
I've got two things. The early intervention of probiotics in calves for greenhouse gas emissions, methane reduction, and the work we're doing collaborating with the Irish around reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the pasture system.
A game-changing piece of tech for dairy farming?
If we could get sex semen more cost-effective.
One piece of advice for new farmers?
Everything's cyclical. So during the highs, plan for the lows, and during the lows, know that things will always get better.
And one piece of advice for experienced farmers?
Well, I really can't go past Farm Strong's 5 ways of wellbeing around connect, give, take notice, keep learning and be active. I think that's really cool. I love that.
Very good. And aside from talking dairy, what's your favourite podcast?
Well, I really love Brene Brown and Dare to Lead, and she talks about brave, daring leadership. Leadership's not about title or status or having power over people, and as a leader, you have a responsibility to empower other people to, develop to their potential. So I really love that.
That's an excellent recommendation. Okay, to wrap up this episode, we've covered a lot of ground with Tracy Brown. As the new Chair of DairyNZ, she's brought us not only her personal insights and passion, but also a strong vision for the future of New Zealand's dairy sector. It's clear that Tracy's focus is on championing farmers and helping DairyNZ bring more value through innovation, collaboration, and environmental leadership. As we look ahead, there's plenty to be excited about, a sector that's not only essential for our economy, but also a world leader in sustainable grass-fed milk production. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Talking Dairy. Make sure to hit follow so you can keep up to date with our latest episodes. You can also keep up with DairyNZ News on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or go to our website and sign up for our fortnightly DairyNZ News emails. As always, if you have any feedback on this podcast or have some ideas for future topics or guests to have on the show, please email us at talkingdairy@dairynz.co.nz. Mā te wā, mauri ora, catch you next time.